What's up, THS? I'm Mrs. Smith from the library. Our theme for this week is Varsity Blues, and these are my top three. Our books for this week center around student athletes who are in trouble, or perhaps if they're playing baseball, they're in a pickle. And I want to kick things off, get it, with a football book. If you find yourselves on a Sunday afternoon around lunchtime, feeling really bored and missing NFL games on TV, it is a perfect opportunity for you to grab a Chris Lynch book, and I would recommend book number 3, which is Hit Count. So Hit Count is a work of fiction. This story follows Arlo Brody from his freshman year when he makes the JV team with his older brother Lloyd, who is a senior at the time, and then it progresses through the end of his senior year. Arlo is devoted to his sport. He's committed to his team. He takes everything very seriously, and he believes that playing smart will set him apart from other players. He doesn't take unnecessary risks. No unnecessary hits. He doesn't leave himself vulnerable, and he plays with a good amount of self-control, which sets him apart from, in particular, his older brother Lloyd. Lloyd's football career kind of had an unfortunate end, and Arlo thinks that he has the discipline to play and avoid that same type of tragedy. So Arlo is a good kid, and he's really competent at his sport. And there's a certain amount of aggression that's required for him to play and keep competing at the level that he does. And sometimes that aggression comes out off field or at inappropriate times. And Arlo's starting to wonder if maybe his mom and his girlfriend have a point when they voice their concerns. You can decide for yourself when you read book number 3, Hit Count by Chris Lynch. Book number 2 is about soccer, sometimes futsal, but it also has a dope librarian who can rap as a side character. So basically what I'm saying, this is a 10 out of 10 perfect book. All for representation of cool librarians everywhere. But honestly, it's the soccer feature that brings this book to our list today. Book number 2 is by Kwame Alexander, and it's called Booked. So this book is about a kid who's a little younger than most of you, but Nick Hall, the main character of our book, is at the age where he's figured out a couple things about his parents. The first thing is that his parents aren't cool. His dad is a linguistics professor, and he makes Nick read every day, and his mom is determined to embarrass him in front of April, his little crush. The second thing that he figures out about his parents is that they're divorcing. 2 not so great things Nick learns about his parents, each having its own effect on his life. So the thing that I don't understand about Nick is that Nick does not like to read. He says it's boring. He spaces out in his English class, if you can even imagine such a thing. He's way more interested in girls and soccer. Reading and school comes like way, way, way down the list, and he would tell you that he's probably better at soccer, maybe slightly less better at talking to girls. Nick would also tell you that he's not that great at writing, but once you start reading this book, you're going to realize that Nick is tenderly mistaken about that. In fact, Nick has bars, much like his librarian. All that reading his dad made him do is really paying off in his writing, and that's where I start to get a little excited about this story. You can read it for yourself and figure out which parts you like. Kwame Alexander is a great author. This is a novel in verse, and it kind of makes other novels in verse look like rec league novels in verse. The words on the page that just move. They're bold, short, like prosy sentences. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. Book number 2, Booked by Kwame Alexander. So a couple months ago, I told you about Mindy McGinnis when I talked about This Darkness Mine, and I said that she likes to write these strong, awesome female characters who just kind of go ham, and she's done it again. Book number 3 is Heroine by Mindy McGinnis. So our heroine in Heroine is Mickey. She I'll say right out of the gate that I really like her. She's smart, she's funny, she's self-aware, she's a bit of an underdog. She went through some hard stuff in her early life, which you will learn about if you choose to read this book. But it didn't make her resentful. It just made her like a better, stronger kid, a better student, a better athlete. In fact, being an athlete might be Mickey's defining characteristic. She's the starting catcher for the varsity softball team. They are on track to go to state championships this year. It will be the first championship for their small kind of rural school. And the whole town is behind the softball girls. Like, people who don't know her hear her name and they're like, oh, you're Mickey, you're the catcher. Like, she's that good. The team is that good. But when the book starts, Mickey and Carolina, who's the ace pitcher, they're in a car accident together, and they both sustain terrible injuries that will jeopardize their ability to play in the future. This car accident happens just a couple weeks before conditioning is supposed to start, and so naturally both the girls are just devastated. In addition to multiple surgeries and physical therapy, Mickey is prescribed Oxycontin to help her with her recovery and just kind of like grease the runway for her to get back behind the plate quicker than expected. So the Oxycontin definitely helps with the painful physical therapy that Mickey has to go through to get back behind the plate. They make her hip feel better, but they also make her feel better all over. She's more confident. She's like willing to crack jokes and be funny around boys all of a sudden, where she used to just be like really introverted. And the things that used to stress her out are really not bothering her at all. Some of you are probably already way ahead of me and connected the dots from this pain pills prescription to Mickey stealing money from her family so that she can buy heroin from a sketchy drug dealer, which is precisely what happens in this book. It's an uncomfortable read sometimes, I'll just say that, and that's kind of an understatement. I was telling a girl about it, and I told her that there were parts that I was just like reading like this, like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, Mickey? Please don't. But I think that's what's so great about this book. One of the things that's so great about this book is Mickey pulls you in. You really want to root for her, and you want her to be okay. And Heroine by Mindy McGinnis, the actual book, makes you kind of start to question what okay is going to be for Mickey in the future. Is it okay if she can't play her sport? Is it okay if she doesn't get a scholarship? Is it okay if she does drugs to feel better, if she does drugs to accomplish her goals? These are questions that we have to wrestle with when we read this book, and it's not as cut and dry as you think. So Heroine is a journey that's not always pleasant, but I think it does some important work for us, and it would be a great book to read to build that empathy if that's something that you're looking for. So that's book number 1 for this week. It's Heroine by Mindy McGinnis. If you want to read about some student athletes, go ahead and request one of the 3 books that we talked about this week. If you want to read about something else, request something else. It's that simple. I will bring the book to you somewhere. I don't know. If you guys can figure out your schedules, I think I can do it too. So it may not be in your advocacy, but remember that you can always return your library books to your advocacy, or you can put them in the book drop before or after school. Just make sure that you're going straight to where you're supposed to be next if you decide to do that. I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for listening, and I will be back again next week with more book talks for you from our library. Take care. Bye-bye.